Okay. I am muted. Stream should be live. People are joining the channel. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool. At the very least, I won't be talking to myself.
At least.
What'd you say?
On Discord.
Oh, okay.
I haven't checked those.
Okay.
Twitch.
If anyone is over on the Twitch side, or everyone heads over there, let me know.
Yeah, I can hear you there.
Okay. How's the volume sounding, music and us wise? Probably okay. I'm gonna assume it's okay.
Saying they can't join, but
Okay.
oh, it's no, there are merchants here. That's weird.
There are or are not. Are they not allowed to join?
But they should be.
Yeah, I don't know why you couldn't join there. That's weird.
Yeah, everyone should have
Are the permissions
connect
weird?
terms.
I don't see any. Yeah, that's weird.
Not ES can't view the channel, but
Oh, Warp, why do you have like a random permission for this channel? Okay. We're just waiting for a few more people to hop in, and then we'll start the whole spiel, I guess. It's not really many questions at all in the submission sheet. There is 2 questions, and one of them is a novel. Answer both of them right now. Let people jump in. No. I mean, yes, it'd be great if we had more questions in the docs, but we do answer quite a bit in chat here anyways, so that's fine as well.
yeah. And it's just after the holidays, so
Yes.
nothing really happens.
Nothing's really substantially changed since the last chat. A couple of PRs have been merged that I think are kind of important, such as the carrier PR that I worked on. But we'll get into that. Yeah, hello. This is our 17th Campfire chat. If you don't know, we do these once every month on the first Saturday, I believe. And sometimes, well, it's not. Sometimes it's sometimes we skip one, or sometimes people can't make it. So, if you have any questions, send them in the linked docs or in the chat in Discord. Let me double check. Is anyone on my Twitch? Typing my Twitch? No. This will be saved as a VOD to YouTube, in case you missed it or are sleeping, as someone has already said that they're going to bed. 17 too many for yeah. When I was typing that, when I typed 17, I was like, that can't be right. We've already done this 17 times. That's well over a year. In fact, that's almost half a year and a half. Sorry. Is it 6 or yes? This will be the 17. Did I type 16? No, I wrote 17th in the title. Or did I type 16th in the message? No, I didn't. Yeah. Warp's picking on me for saying we've done it 17 times when this is the 17th time. The first was summer 22, yeah. How are you guys' holidays? At the other devs.
I don't know.
You don't know. You went through the holiday and you're like, I don't know what happened. I blanked. It's already 2025.
Kind of.
It really happens like that, doesn't it? Like you go through like 3/4 of the year, then when November and December hits, you blink and it's already January.
Yeah.
Rudder says kind of crappy. Oh, why not? Why is that? I'm assuming it's because it's everyone's grinding out their finals and whatnot. Doom says it was all right, nothing especially good or bad. That's what I get as the general vibe from most people. Is like you really have to go out of your way to have like a crazy holiday. Otherwise, it's just kind of chill. Strange June in Twitch chat says, with that many campfire chats, I'm almost convinced there's no actual campfire in the room. You don't know that. Someone who's muted in the Discord might already have like their house burned. No. First time chatter. I love these things, says Mahari. Warps being a dummy. Although I could probably guess what question he's referencing. It's your first time being here? Well, welcome. Tybe, you're about to get demoted for having a logo on your meme.
So I had to get a campfire quickly.
Yeah. Alright. So we could do this two ways. Well, normally we start with the questions in the sheet and then we just kind of go freeform. But there's a very few amount of questions in the sheet, so I'm thinking we just kind of go through those real quick and we make this whole day, this whole session freeform. Probably like just one whole hour of throw stuff at us, since most things will be live. So I guess I could go ahead and jump on those questions. Well, we can read a few. How do you feel about the current level of Steam Deck support? Is this in regards to our game or in just in general?
Why? I don't know if controller support works properly for the Steam Deck. I know that some controllers work and some don't, and I don't know if those specific ones work. I don't think anyone from the dev team has Steam Deck, so
I don't think so either. I could be wrong, but I haven't really looked at that myself. I know we have people running on Steam Deck, we have people running on mobile. Although those aren't official releases, people are still trying to do their best to get them to work on other platforms, so I'd imagine anything with the Steam Deck would also be like a third-party thing too.
Yeah, I do remember some third-party something for a Steam Deck. I don't know if it was just a plugin for the UI or something.
Yeah. Can you play Endless Sky Mobile? Yeah, we have people getting Endless Sky Mobile through Android, I think it is. We have GOG, and there's a Steam Deck. Oh, there's a controller guide for Steam Deck. Oh, there you go in chat. Yeah, we have like a third party. We have someone, one of our core members works on a mobile port of the game, and then it's also available on GOG. So yeah, a decent amount of people I've noticed, like when I'm just kind of reading through Discord, are actually coming from those mobile places. It's kind of awkward because it's like our game's a PC game. It wasn't like intended for mobile, but we can play it. You guys can play it on mobile.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting
especially
to see people be like, "What are the controls?" I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, especially that it isn't in the main app store. It's like a third-party store that you have to like download and everything.
Yeah. People will be talking about controls and why they're weird, and I'll be like, "Are you at mobile?" Because we don't really have official controls for that, because that's not what the game was for. Yeah, the Android version is maintained by the Weird Nut. I'm sorry, I forgot his name. Yep. Or put a link to it in the Discord chat. Android through the Android store. I haven't tried it myself. Someday I will. I keep saying that I will. But I keep living on the PC because that's where I'm doing all the PRs and stuff. Yeah. You can also download the APK from the GitHub page, yeah.
I used it about a year ago. That's pretty good. I know that a lot of the UI has become more usable since.
The UI is always changing for mobile, it seems.
Yeah. It's not easy because much of the game is based heavily around text. You know, all of the missions and stuff. And you just can't fit that much text on mobile in a readable manner.
Yeah, and now that you bring that up, I think that kind of also illustrates my point of like some of the newer people are looking at the mobile side of things, and as a mobile game, people probably play it more for just the arcadey style of like kill, capture, destroy, and the main part of the game is actually the story and like the novels written for it. So people playing from mobile, or people who find the game through mobile, are probably playing it more for just the kind of gameplay aspect, and then people from PC are playing it originally the story part of the game. So there are novels. I'm just making fun of how long some of our missions are. Strange June in my Twitch chat says I played a little and surprisingly playable on mobile. Cool. Some of the conversations are just too long. Yeah. It's apparent for like things that especially introduce missions because they want to like get a lot of writing out too, so it really depends on where it is in the game and whatnot. Strange June in Twitch chat says actually found us through the mobile app. Yep. See, I knew there was people out there finding it through their phones. Nova says, I think that's a good point, especially since computer screens themselves are larger, they tend to lead themselves to storytelling better. Yeah, because I've seen a couple of, I think, issues come up where people are saying at smaller screen sizes, the windows can get a bit messy, and that's why I'm saying it wasn't intended for smaller screens, it was meant for just PCs, laptops, what have you. But yeah. You could turn some of the storylines or quest lines into books. You could. When I first started playing in the Sky, before I even got into the contributor scene, I like wrote down my timeline of encounters, and I was considering of like making that like a little story at one point, and I kind of just never did that, and then ended up, you know, adding to the game instead. Yeah. Ooh, there are a couple more questions now in the docs. That's cool. I think we'll go ahead and start with that real quick, and then I'll jump back to the Campfire chat, or maybe like here and there, jump back and forth. FCC's human ships need to be upgraded. There needs to be more mining ships. Again, that's my opinion. The thing with human ships is they're not meant to be good. They're not meant to be upgradable throughout the game. They're meant to be relevant within their story part of the game, and they are. So I'm not really sure what you mean by upgraded, but throughout the Freeloads campaign, until you get into like alien stuff, human ships are pretty relevant. And as for more mining ships, I could see maybe another Syndicate mining ship depending on the campaign. We're maybe looking at that someday, but around the map in general, yeah. But I don't know about like several more human ships. I know Doom thinks that we could be a little bit more lenient on more human ships, but still under the impression that they'd have to be a pretty significant addition rather than just more insert thing here.
Yeah. And they can't have much better technology than what they have now.
Yeah, the thing with quote upgrades is each faction is meant to be at the tier that they are at, and they shouldn't be able to like significantly increase their weapons or outfits tech within the game's timeline, because that would be a pretty significant jump. For example, humanity back in the days of when they were still colonizing planets, that all the way up until now, that was a pretty significant feat of technology difference. And to have something jump up like humans to like high tech or something would probably be many more years worth of in-game time beyond the scope of the vanilla game. But yeah, if you want ships with aliens, don't use alien ships. Yeah. Well, that's kind of something more like why I think plugins are still a huge part of the game, is because you can. There are plenty of plugins that do that too. So, Kegno ruined.
I think human alien ship combinations can happen as part of other storylines, like maybe high reveal, stuff like that. Unfettered campaign, perhaps.
JNU Harry says, I feel like we're getting too many human to subhuman tech tiers. The Encyclopedias, Gegno, and the Abgi are all supposed to have arisen like within the last 1,000 years, while species like the Hive been chilling for 100,000 years. You know, it's funny you say that, because if you were here like a year or two ago, the opposite would be true. You would think, oh man, there's like literally no lower tier species. It's just all this high tech, higher tier stuff that's cool and powerful. And it's funny because when I merged, or I didn't merge the Gegno, but when the Gegno were merged, they were the first species in the game that weren't tier 1. They were less than tier 1. And then the Encyclopedias were merged this year, and then there was a second species in the game that was less than tier 1. And now the Abgi are going to be around tier 1. This year? Yeah. Or, okay, sorry, last year. In the last 4 days, yeah, I merged 4 alien factions. But yeah, we were looking to have more like of a lower bracket, because a lot of things were just, we need more stuff like the Korg or the Pug, and that's not, we don't want to like have too many higher tier factions, and it makes a little bit more sense to have more lower stuff, because there wasn't really much of a representation of them up until now. Doom also adds, it's intended to be a plot point that the rate of emergence of new species has increased in recent times, so you've got a distribution where there's high time density of new species in recent time. Yeah, that too. I think having these new species be somewhat newer shows that there's kind of this boom of development in the galaxy around this period. And then meanwhile, you still have some of the older species, like the High have kind of stagnated, and there's like around tier 1.5. You do have obviously the Korg, the Pug, and the Relay through the Gegno stuff. So you still have in the Kahet, because that's another thing is with the Abgi PR, they might be lower, but they're also kind of adding on to that Kahet stuff too. So, but yeah, I haven't updated ships in a long time. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna jump over to the questions, because I'm gonna keep getting distracted. Then we can turn back around to chat and kind of chat it up after that. So this first question here is the longer one. I will read it, but it's more of a kind of here's what things are then question. Hello, I'm one of the people working on the merchant campaign. It is currently in the very early brainstorming planning stages with not much done yet, since it only has been I gotta expand my page here. A few weeks. With that said, the plan is to have the merchant campaign start out with normal events of free worlds, then it will branch where you make a choice that leads to either a normal checkmate path or a reconciliation path, but with a different way to end the war. The current idea is that the merchants threaten a general strike preempting the Syndicate from putting nuclear-armed ships into orbit around Earth, and that is what starts the Pug invasion. I was told by Saugia that planets shouldn't really change hands, however, the planets really stop changing hands at the point you want to make a decision to go down the reconciliation path. Is the non-checkmate branch fine? Note, the player is not influencing whether the Free World Council chooses to rescue the defector. What choice they do make is, however, dependent on what choice First Class makes in the merchant campaign. In other words, they just happen to choose to rescue the defector if First Class makes one choice, and not if they make the other. Since there would be a tie without First Class, you could assume this was a random tiebreaker, but the coin lands on one side or the other, and for the sake of the plot, the coin always lands on a specific side based on what First Class chooses. You could say this was the butterfly effect if you really insist on there being connection with the decision to rescue the defector and the resulting coin flipping happening later. So I guess the question is asking if the non-checkmate branch is fine. So you're asking if the reconciliation path with the strike. So we were like, I was kind of talking, I think this is Ziproot asking this, or I don't know who might be asking this, but I know Ziproot's one of the people who are kind of looking at the merchant campaign. So the quote idea for a quote merchant campaign is not so much like a full blown on campaign, but this kind of idea that you don't choose any of the three sides and you end up staying a merchant throughout the main campaign in the main plot. Which right now, obviously if you don't choose a side, well, you have to choose free wills right now because the other two aren't in the game yet. But you can stay a merchant for forever and then the main story doesn't continue. But the concept here is that you somehow triggered the main story to continue, but you don't end up choosing a side. I remember we were kind of throwing the idea around that could be a thing. They definitely have to wait until all three sides are in the game though, I think, because it would depend on all of them. Because there might be like events that happen in the other sides that would still, that you might come across as a merchant and not in the free world side. But I think the main idea here that I'm not sure would work is, you say that the players are influencing what the Free Worlds Council is doing, but you are changing how a main event happens by saying that a strike by the merchants changes the syndicates from arming nuclear armed ships, or arming their ships, or that the merchants threaten a strike which is preempting the syndicate from putting nuclear armed ships into orbit. Whatever the merchants do shouldn't change what the syndicate do in the plot. For all three sides, the syndicate will arm their ships with nukes on either choice. So I guess, does that make sense? Is with whatever the merchants do, like these could be things that you don't see in the other three sides of the main governments, so long as they aren't changing what the Syndicate, Republic, or Free Worlds do in these main events. So there could be
effectively.
Oh, go ahead.
Effectively, the merchants don't really have any power, and they are not an organized force that can act in some way to affect all of those other major powers. I suppose that it's kind of like the civilians. That's probably the closest approximation I can say. Like there are like the main factions that are involved in the war. Yeah, I know Syndicate and all of those parties are not going to be full militaries, but in the context of the storyline, we could treat it as if there were three armies, and merchants were kind of an amalgamation of all of the civilians from all of those factions.
Yeah, I'd imagine the merchant side would be more of kind of a background to the main plot, and perhaps some things from the main plot missions affects what the merchants are dealing with, but what the merchants are doing shouldn't affect what the three main governments are doing.
Yeah. The merchants aren't even going to be consistent. Like, there are going to be merchants living in the free world. There are going to be merchants living in the syndicate, even. Yeah. They're also going to all choose their own sides, but without taking any real part in the conflict, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know if I don't really think a group of merchants would end up influencing the syndicate to not make a choice for such a large event. I hope that answers your question. Roadrunner says she disagrees that we shouldn't delay adding a merchant campaign if it's just because there's no Republic Syndicate campaign. The reason why I said we should maybe wait for it is because I think we're going to miss out on a lot of opportunities where there are unique missions in each of the Syndicate and Republic side that you don't see in the Free World side, and then perhaps during the Merchant campaign, some like ties to those missions or some like background simulation of those missions happens with the merchants. But if we do it based on just what's in the game from the Free World side, then a lot of the Merchant campaign is going to be heavily influenced by only the Free World side, which will kind of make it not so much of a Merchant campaign and more of a merchant in with the context of Free World's side, if that makes sense. We can always add to the missions later, but I feel like if we just add a Merchant campaign into the game only while the Free World side is in, then we're kind of drawing a picture without seeing the rest of it, if that makes sense. And then only after you're finished drawing that picture, then you add the other two parts of it, and all of a sudden the one you just drew has to be changed again. So I think it could be definitely brainstormed and worked on before the other two sides are in it, but I don't think it should be completely done and put into the game before either of those two sides are looked at. Because then you end up having, like I said, a merchant campaign only based on the Free World's kind of perspective of things. And that, unless the merchant campaign is entirely without any of the, like, any reference to the three major governments, which at that point I don't really think it would be that much of a merchant campaign at all, if it's supposed to be something different than just not choosing to be part of the war. I don't know, what do you guys think? I just think there would be too many things to take into account after the fact if it's merged before we even look at the other two sides of it.
That could happen, but based on the comment, it's not going to be ready for quite a while, so
yeah,
might be a little too early to worry about that.
I guess we just probably have to see where it goes, right? It is early. You can make the argument, Roadrunner says you can make the argument for other human campaigns. We already tried to finish the picture of the human civil war with only the Free World side elaborate on. That same argument, you could say we shouldn't add the Republic campaign until we have the Syndicate campaign in, or vice versa. Well, I think it's a little different because you're looking at the perspective of one given side for the war, when the merchant campaign is supposed to be, or presumably based on merchants as a whole, looking at the perspectives of all three sides, which is different than each three side reflecting off of one another. I don't know if that makes sense or not. I suppose you could also argue that although the Free Worlds part of the campaign is in the game, it's still technically the main plot. While you're playing from the Free Worlds, everything that happens still includes the Syndicate and Republic side of things. It's just that you're not deep into it. Is that your argument? Because it's not that we're lacking Syndicate or Republic sides for the plot. I think we Doom says, I think we really need to make the decision of how much the events of the different main campaigns differ from each other before we can make the plan of any other campaigns. Yeah, I agree. From what we've said so far, it kind of seems to be that we don't want anything major to change, but having different smaller events, maybe with the characters doing slightly different things, might happen. But ultimately, yeah, this is like a really big decision we need to make before we actually start working on the next side of it with either the Republic or the Syndicate side. So, I think we can make that decision without needing to wait for anything. The campaigns don't need to wait for each other, only for that decision. Yeah, at the very least, I think we need to take a look at continuing the main campaign and what everything looks like from there. Because right now, with everything relying on the only existing Free World side, that's been in the game for forever, and there hasn't been any like further decisions beyond that for additional parts of it into the game and anything else such as the merchant or pirate campaign. So at the very least, I liked us to make a little bit more ground on the main campaign before we start looking at things like side campaigns. I know Doom's working on stuff with Wanderers. I don't think Wanderers is... Well, that's like the very like up there goal, because once Wanderers is finished, then we have the whole main plot like rounded out completely. So Road posted a merchant campaign picture here. I'll look at that real quick. I mean, just kind of glancing at this doesn't seem that bad at all. I don't really have a lot of context to work with it though, but not really many things hitting the main events there. But yeah. We're gonna ask, so the general plots of the other campaigns are already outlined. I think that's a minimum common effort before focusing on specific campaigns. Yes and no. There's been plans for them. I mean, for years there's been plans, especially by multiple people. What we eventually need to get doing is kind of gathering that stuff together and looking at it objectively. Warp actually just responded to that question here. Doom asks, I don't think other campaign, or not asks, Doom says, I don't think the other campaigns need to necessarily copy the Free Roads 2 endings. If I remember correctly, when we brought this up, I remember Derpy was saying how they don't necessarily have to have each campaign have a reconciliation and the other route, but perhaps they have like their own kind of form of events. Obviously with the main events like Pug, Alphas, Nukes, all that stuff remains the same, but yeah. Doom says, going back to the question, I don't think the merchant campaign should mirror those endings. That's why I'm saying it's a little bit difficult to kind of talk about the merchant campaign right now, and why I think we should still wait for us to actually get some decisions or work into the other two sides of the campaign, at the very least one side, because then we'll know what we're kind of looking for the last side remaining, and then that'll help a lot more with kind of looking at the bigger picture with things like the merchant pirate campaigns. Ernie says, I miss when it was just the birds. A little more focus on that would be nice. Yeah, Doom's been working on some Wanderer stuff, and I think that's our highest priority in terms of main campaign stuff, is getting Wanderers Part 3 out eventually, and finishing Part 2, because that's been hasn't ever been finished, so. Let me jump over to Twitch chat. Strange streams typing more. Stories, first story PRs, yep. Everything is chill until the Kahet move up a tier. Oh no. Will there be any other major stories taking place in human space after Free Worlds, not counting things like the Wanderers campaign that involve humans? To my knowledge, right at this moment, I don't think so. But for example, we've said we don't want to do like Human Campaign 2.0 or something like that. But I think that's just a question I don't think we can really answer until we're finished with the main campaign in all sides of it. Because it's been quite a few years since we've actually gotten any work on that stuff. I know there's been Free World stuff, but like regarding Syndicate Republic stuff, we do need to get some progress on that. And I think I'd like to see more like this year especially. But quite a bit goes into making one of these sides, so it's hard for me, or if any of you others have any like answers, to give an answer to anything like that specifically when we still have so much of the main game to work on. but in like specifically other major stories in human space. Well, you have the main campaign that happens, everything kind of dies down, and then stuff with Wanderers picks up, and that involves the humans, but you're saying specifically in human space. I guess it depends on what you mean by main story. If you mean like another main plot, like equivalent to the main campaign, probably not. But like mission series or like kind of basically that, just like bigger mission stories. I mean, yeah. It's a very hard question to answer this early. That's pretty much what I have to say about that. I have names truncated, so I can't read this name. Hold on. Algian says, just want to chime in and say how much I'm enjoying the new mechanics in 10.10. Absolutely jaw-dropping graphics and some great Whiskey Tango Foxtrot moments regarding mapping. Didn't read up, only just got here. Want to express the joy this game has given me. Well, that's good to hear. I'm glad you're enjoying the game. Roadrunner says, IMO, all human campaigns should have the Civil War happen due to the bombings of Jonas and Martini. Reveal the bombings were done by the Syndicate. Extremists should have the creation of the Oath Keepers. The Pug should invade, and the player should be a major factor in driving on the Pug off. Beyond that, there aren't any super solid rules. I mean, that's kind of what we've been going for, yeah. Beyond that, there aren't really super solid rules. Well, those are mainly the super solid rules. Is all the main events need to be the same. And then things that happen around those events would be different. Doom says Checkmate misses one of those points. Yeah, it does. Which I think that example of Checkmate missing one of those points is kind of what we can look at happening into other sides being slightly different. Yeah. As for if the results should be noticeably different, I guess it depends on what you mean by noticeably different, because still you have the alphas. Like the very end of the campaign is obviously driving off the alphas, but I'm not sure if that would be the same thing in the other two routes. We'll have to see. I'd very much like to hear Derpy's opinion on this too, because he does know quite a lot about the main campaigns and has done quite a lot of work on them. So, but I would be a little bit interested in seeing different results of the main campaigns. But yeah, with those like kind of main central things, those would probably be what everything has to be built around. So. Well, that was a very long answer, kind of tangent to the merchant campaign, but I hope that answered the question. I know half the answer is kind of like a wait and see thing, but I think that's better than saying right now, absolutely do this, and that's the truth, because there is nothing like that besides the main events in the game. So, the next question is in the list. Is there any plan for implementing a jamming system or some system where outfits could be toggled on or off? If so, what is it? I think
we actually do have a weapon jamming system.
Yeah.
So that already exists. But it's really just a jamming attribute. If you're looking at like plugins or the data files. Or what is scrambling or jamming? I don't even know. It might be scrambling.
Scrambling I think is based on like ion weapons. Or am I thinking of something else?
Oh, okay. Maybe. So anyway, if you have that effect, then your weapons will have a chance to not fire.
Yeah.
So like they get jammed and then they get disabled for a short time randomly, and it wears off over time. Okay, so it is scrambling, Borf says.
I guess I'm not sure what this question is asking by jamming system, because that could mean like radar jamming, like ECM for missiles and stuff, or it could mean jamming as in like your weapons jam and they don't fire.
But we also have missile jamming.
Yeah, we have missile jamming.
And yeah, as somebody pointed out, overheating also works, kind of.
Yeah.
So
weapons jam like you can't fire. Well, I mean that's also overheating. There's also scrambling, which makes your, like we were saying, weapons like randomly not fire or just not work properly. So yeah, I guess it really depends on what this question is asking by jamming. But as for what's already in the game, we have, you know, jamming missiles, and then we also have jamming like the weapons themselves with scrambling. So it is kind of a tangent, but there has been talk of like some sort of ECM kind of thing system where you could have like a device that turns on and off. I'm not sure what all is going on with that. I remember we were kind of saying how maybe the cloak in Free Worlds could, instead of be a cloak, be something with like jamming detection or something like that, but not really much beyond like ideas for that. So Warp says, I think the question is about something you could install and turn on and off that would jam missiles while it's on, since it's not on all the time and presumably be more expensive to run. It seems very people discuss the idea, but not aware of any plans for it at the moment. Yeah. Right now, like all radar jammers are just consistently active at all times. So, if this is meant to be more of a, you can turn it on and off, and it eats resources. Yeah, from what I know, there's not really any plans for something like that right now.
It would be interesting.
It could be, yeah.
Or if you could maybe like deploy something that jams missiles in a radius.
What is this, Modern Warfare? You gonna put your trophy system down?
Maybe. Or have a missile that jams other missiles. Like, that could be fun.
That'd be wonky.
Yeah.
I don't. A missile that jams other missiles. Is that like chaff and flare with extra steps, or weird that system control
scheme? Kind of. Yeah, for thermal, like infrared seeking.
Weird nut, the control scheme is already complicated enough to add another system to turn on and off via command. Yeah, I kind of agree.
Yeah.
There's some pretty, like with all the heat and stuff that's going on with all the other things you can enable and disable, like control-wise, I think there's more than enough systems. I know Derpy was still talking about having like a universal button for this sort of thing that we still can't decide on a name on. He was saying how like cloaks, and then like some maybe new things, like maybe, I don't know, I was saying like I thought it'd be cool if the Gigno had like a burst afterburner or something like that, but like cloaks and afterburner, all that stuff would go onto one button, and he would call it like an ability or something. That was kind of our thought. So like it wasn't just for cloaks, like a button wasn't just for cloaks, but it was for like whatever unique thing this is.
Yeah, let's add the teleportation system so you can just jump away from the missiles.
A mini hyperdrive. What if you had cloak and afterburner? Yeah, that'd be another thing. Warp says, frankly, I don't think it'd be a line within the sky. There are two types of things that can turn on and off: weapons and cloaks. If you want more stuff, maybe this isn't the game for you.
I mean, we already have issues with not being able to like fine-tune which weapons you want to fire and what you want to target with them.
Yeah.
Like, you know, either individual like targeting or just disabling groups of weapons that are not like missiles or like secondaries.
I was gonna say, Kat saying, what if you have both cloak and afterburner if we did use the ability thing? I think the thought there was it did also act like secondaries where you could like cycle through whatever quote ability it is. I still don't like the name ability. Let's see though if we ever do anything with that. Twitch chat streams, June says, isn't there a fighter that is designed to do this? To what, eat missiles? Kind of, the flycatcher, it's literally a fighter with an anti-missile. I think, is that what you're talking about? The Wanderer
It's
fighter?
a fighter and not a drone.
Is it a drone or a fighter? It's a drone? Okay, I'm sorry, it's a drone. Yeah, it's just a drone that shoots down missiles. That's all it's good for. Yes? Okay. Fake fan. Used to be an interceptor. Yeah, that's why I was getting confused with. I thought that was an interceptor. That was so long ago. Why is a Wanderer drone so expensive?
Because they don't make that many of them. Like, they don't have that massive, military shipyard infrastructure like others.
It's the big Wanderer Corpa.
Yeah.
Right.
Actually, in its stats, is it better than the bigger remnant fighters? And it's got to be weaker than the like a coalition stuff.
Well, yeah, the coalition fighters are also kind of like big. Have a lot of stuff in them. Honor Tech is OP, true. Not all of it, but a lot of it. Okay, I wouldn't really say OP, but it's very powerful, yes. There's a reason why Korath and Wanderer Tech is the combined late game stuff. Let's look at the next question here. Oh, this is the one Warp was saying no, no, and no to. Okay. I'm curious when the Navy license will be attainable soon, if human ships will get an upgrade, or more human ships will come in new updates. Navy license will not be probably obtainable soon. That's probably going to wait until the Navy side of things, the Republic side of things. If human ships would get an upgrade, probably not. If you want to upgrade them, use alien weapons. And if there will be more human ships in new updates, maybe. I know there's at least plans for 2 more human ships. Similarly to that of those, like the Saber and whatnot, like the older ones. Benny was working on one of them. I kind of poked at the model a little bit with him. And then there's also possibly one coming at the Syndicate side, we'll see. So, the whole thing with human ships, and I know Doom, you were kind of talking about this the other day, is it's not no period new human ships. There's still some kind of examples where like new ones would work, but it's kind of just like, oh, I think I want this human ship because it looks like a cool rocket ship. Hell yeah, brother. No. But yeah, they're in the updates. This doesn't say specify what updates, but yes, in new updates, maybe new human ships, maybe. Not necessarily none. Yeah, as Doom says just now. There's no absolute no. I'll say that, but there's also no absolute yes.
And yes, it is in absolutes.
Next question. Are you planning to change certain graphical aspects of the game? For example, adding character illustrations? I think this was answered in chat, but I'll answer it again here. For example, adding character illustrations to display their dialogues instead of long overlapping lines of text, or create unique images for each planet. You answered this chat already. Warp already answered this chat, but I'll answer it again here. I think this comes up usually every other dev chat. We used to have portraits, and then we decided to take them out of the game because it's hard to make consistent portraits for each species, especially in art style, and we also feel it's better to leave it to the imagination instead of a picture of a squirrel or something. Like, wait for the high. Yeah. As for unique planet sprites, I'm not sure what that's referencing. If you meant like no repeating planet sprites, that'd probably be a long-term goal. I know we wanted to do that a while ago, but for all the stuff that's being added, it's kind of hard to do that all at once.
Yeah.
There is a plugin that adds portraits back, yes, if you're interested in that. Do the human pictures not count? Yeah, those are kind of like exceptions from like what MC made the game. Like there's like one picture of just the straight up guy working on some tools for one of the freeloads things, so yeah. That's another reason why portraits would be a little awkward, because there's a straight up like realistic person in the game. Yeah, the engineer on Kraz. We should get rid of those. I don't know.
I actually wouldn't mind having more scenes and having them appear more casually, but making them is not easy in most cases.
I'd rather avoid trying to make portraits for all the species with art.
No, not portraits, but like those scenes that show up in the missions.
Oh. Yeah, because they're all like just real pictures. I mean, we do use real pictures for like landscapes, and then some of our scenes are made in Blender and stuff like that, so. Weird Nut says I vote to remove as many pictures as possible to shrink APK size. And the sky, but no sprites. You have to guess where the planet is. You have to guess where the ships are, what ship you're fighting.
If you're lucky, you will be able to just re-encode all of those or all the JPEGs with a WIF by the end of the update, and yeah, that should help a bit.
All the ships the same spray, all the planets look like Mars. Why specifically Mars? All the ships and people are Mars too. Why do you guys like Mars so much? Because they all can't look like Earth. I don't know, my favorite planet's Venus. I take that back, it's Saturn. My favorite
But the Saturn sprite is pretty big. You know, it's got all of those rings. We can't afford that.
True. Budget cuts. Alright, next question. Is there a unified vision of what all the species look like? There are in-game descriptions, but they're a little vague. For example, I'm not sure if it's entirely clear what the molted wanderers look like, if they're similar in appearance or just younger with subtle differences, or if they look completely different, and whether the Korath are more scaly or reptilian or rather more dromaeosaur-esque. You see, that's the thing, is they're not supposed to be specific. Warp says there's only one molted wanderer the game describes so far, yeah. As for a unified version, I mean, there's kind of like community thoughts as to what they might look like. But there's not really like, you go to Endless Sky Wiki and then it says, oh, the High are just straight up squirrels, but they're humans, you know. This is kind of one of those things where it's whatever pops into your head when you read it, that's what they look like. Other than humans, and then I mean, some species have references for their what they look like. I know I did that for the Gigno. There's some examples of that for I think the Korath, of like what they look like lizard-wise. But that doesn't mean that's what they have to absolutely look like, so. Doom says post-molt Wreck is described as being smaller and having shiny black plumage. I think that description and characterization is probably inspired by crows and other corvids. That's what I thought too.
I do think that we can get into a little more detail, but I definitely wouldn't want images. That's a bit too concrete.
Yeah. And the last question in the document is, I understand that Abgi will likely be added in the coming updates, but are other potential factions like the Zapla or Bashmal decided on yet? From what I know, the Zaplo are kind of like, they're very much on the backlog right now. and for what Gray's been working on, and there's some other things like core systems and stuff like that that we're kind of supposed to be looking at soon-ish. And then basketball haven't even that's all in writing right now. they're not. Other than that, there's like some ship sprites, but that's about it. So in terms of other potential factions, I think after the Abgi, it's probably going to be a little bit of a break because there's not really another next faction that's like ready to be looked at this time. I think the closest thing, aside from the Zeppela being already PR'd, is probably the Naltok. I don't know. I did see there's another PR for another species that Giraffe made, but it's probably going to be some time before we can look at that because there's quite a bit going on there, and we do want to look at some of these closer to main campaign kind of things at the moment. Yeah, Araki says there's not really a faction you can really watch out for in the immediate moment. But I think that's more than enough to work on because with the Gegno, Bunradia, the successors, the Avgi, and the Incapias, there's plenty of new factions in the game, and I think that was probably a good amount of time to kind of like look at what we've put in the game and if there's going to be more content. I know something I do want to look up. Oh, sorry, this song's a little loud. Something I do want to look at for the next major update or so is the Patir 2 stuff, which is quite a lot in itself. So, Avgi merge when? Before the update.
Do they have all of the outfit sprites yet?
Yeah, I'm kind of waiting on some artwork for that right now. Don't forget Benny Species, I can't forget those guys. Yeah, we'll get those in around time of the year, right? Probably drop table species. Wait, it's all Mars. I just saw that. Yeah. Yeah, Doom, go ham on the Wanderers. Who cares about the Naltok? Honestly. The more time you spend on the Wanderers, the less time I can spend on making spreads to the Naltok. Naltok, more like never talk.
It is probably a lot easier to merge stuff for the Wanderers.
Yeah. The main thing with species is once their main content is in the game, it's a lot easier to add stuff to them, but adding a whole new thing to the game is a lot more work than like continuing, say, Gegno stuff or Avgi stuff once that's in or something like that. Yeah. Hey Raki, when's more Coalition content coming? Can you tell that to everybody? Since everyone keeps asking. Raki has left the server. And Todd finishes Quark sprites. I know that's part of it, but I know the other part of it is just Raki trying to find the time to write all that stuff out for the next part of the series. Because I've been working on some Gundam missions too, and I'm having a hard time between, oh, I'll just add a few more to the game each like update at a time, versus I think it'd be better to kind of add a whole section like with Remnant Cognizance. It's a bit better to put it all together and then have it done, rather than here's a few next missions. Here's the few next missions. Too many alt accounts in the chat. Yeah, yeah, that's it for the questions on the submission sheet. Now's about the time where we kind of look at chat and just kind of talk to you guys. If you have any questions beyond that or things you want to talk to about, ask the devs, stuff like that. Imagine we can go for another 30 minutes or so. I don't think we need to go a whole hour, but we'll see how much we talk.
Awkward silence.
Yeah, he posts a picture of a cricket. Yeah, I said, hey, ask questions and talk now, and then nobody says anything. No messages in any chat, no voice.
Yeah.
All right, keep your secrets then. I guess I was talking earlier about how we merged some PRs. The carrier PR got merged, so Aerie got buffed. Woohoo! 2 more fighters in the Aerie, and the carrier got finagled, and it has 4 less guns, but twice as many fighters. I want to end this guy
So
too.
how does it?
Go ahead.
So how does it compare to that automata carrier? I think
Which
that
one?
has like lots of fighter in.
Which
The
one?
one that has lots of drones and fighter base.
Which one?
From the automata.
You mean the one, the 103? I think that's what it is.
Maybe. I don't know.
No, it's the 109, right? I don't. Hold on. I hate that I can't remember this. This is my favorite ship in the game. It's the Campfire 109, isn't it? TF 109. Yeah, okay, I was right. The reason I remember 109 is because it reminds me of a real life aircraft. The name reminds me of the Messerschmitt BF 109. So that's what I don't know why, but that's what I always think of. Yeah. That still has more fighters and drones on it. But from what Doom said in testing is, it's a benefit to the fights because the carrier itself isn't some massive cruiser anymore, and the fighters are more of its damage, and the fighters are easier to deal with because they die so fast. But then again,
how fast is?
Go ahead.
How fast is the carrier now?
How fast is it? Did that change? I don't know.
I don't know.
Because it
I
lost.
just know that it was.
The guns it lost compared to the fighters it gained. I mean, that'd be a better question for Doom. Really, Raki? You put that there? Is this the name of the next species? Whoa. Is that Weebot in Discord? Did that actually happen? That thing's alive? Carrier itself is much weaker, so you have more options when you're alone against 1 or 2 of them at the end of a battle. Yeah, okay, cool. Why do we still have that bot? Why not? This is old as the server. I'm surprised that still works. I never even seen that bot used since my time here.
I see it once in a while, but yeah, it's not that common.
Any excited things going into the next update that you guys are excited about? I already said mine. Actually, no, mine's Abgi, but
Is High Legacy getting in?
I want to get it in, but like every time I look at it, something breaks, and then every time something breaks, we need to test it, and then every time we need to test it, someone doesn't test it. Like, I don't. Sometimes I take a while to get to testing it. Sometimes Hurl doesn't get to test it right away too. I want to get it in. I want to see it merged. I want to merge it. And stop looking at it. Yeah, okay, I'll stop looking at it. My bad. Never mind. Blindly merge. Hey Warp, you want to merge something? Oh, Warp's not here anymore. Never mind. He left. Everyone likes the Abgi. Cool. I think they're really cool too. When I finally got to play the PR, it was a lot of fun. I wasn't expecting that much for the intro. I'm actually waiting to see when I merge that, because there's a decent amount of people who actually don't like the shrouded mechanic, and I think it's partly because the only time it was in the game was, aside from Successor Space, it was over in the Upper Reach, and I kind of took it out because it's not really used there for anything. But now there's going to be a whole giant region using shrouded. It's going to be a mess. It's going to be great. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I liked it. Wait, so what did the Abgi? I haven't heard of this shrouded mechanic. Ask me again in a month, because it'll be in the game. Abgi is a new species looking to be in the south by the successors, and shrouded mechanic is when you can't see a system until you're right next to it, I think.
Or you are in the system.
Well, yeah, in it, yeah.
Or possibly if you have a mission that is targeting that system. I think that still shows up.
Benelux says I'm interested in the C core, but as far as I know, that part of the game has been set aside for later. Kinda. The C core it's a has been thing. The C core was a pirate group in the past. The lore of it is basically that in early on in humanity's history, this group of people kind of left the Republic to go be separated from it, and that was the C core. And then as the game progressed, the C core eventually kind of fell apart. So nowadays, the quote remnants of the C core are in that space behind men. I'm not sure if they'd ever come back to be a faction again, but the plans are for the pirate campaign is that it would involve talking to members of the past C core and things like that. So I don't really know anything much beyond that, because we don't really have anything planned much beyond that. I do want to get to with Lake again sometime to get the pirate stuff rolling again, but right now my focus is on the Abgi. So successors, yeah, it's a new species in the south right now. I got a little bit of an intro. Gotta go through the graveyard. There's also the Incapias, if you haven't seen those yet. Little small intro for them. They're north of Automata space. When will there be a TMVR album fully listenable in the game? When you give us enough money to hire a band.
So, I mean, there is actually being progress made in terms of music.
Oh yes, that's a good discussion. Go ahead. Sorry.
And probably nothing will get into the next update, so don't get too excited just yet. But maybe if things
They're
go perfectly, the update after that we might get
major.
some music already.
It depends on how the system turns out, because I know it's two individuals. They joined the Discord recently. I think one of them is Aaron. I don't remember the other person's name, but they've worked on soundtracks before, and we're kind of looking at what we're looking at for like a music system with the code stuff there. So it's kind of neat that they have done a bunch of tracks. This isn't to say anyone else out there who's listening to this or is watching this that if you have any kind of music ideas to throw them our way too, in the Discord, we do have a music for in the sky channel or thread below content creating, or obviously if PRs are open and things like that. So, but yeah, it's cool to see people talking about that stuff. Although they did say it's gonna be quite a lot of work, so I would imagine, yeah, it's gonna be a little while before you see any things jumped onto that.
Yeah. Even for the engine support, it's not going to be this update.
Yeah.
Based on the current progress. So yeah.
You like the Sequor because there's new stuff in human space? Well, good, because it's not going to be that's not going to be the end of it. I also am looking at, we're also looking at expanding the Northern Pirates area a little bit, kind of making it a little less of a kind of a hodgepodge of stuff, and a few more pirate systems out there too, with possibly another faction. Basically, with the whole pirate stuff with Lake, I was talking to Derpy as well. Is we're looking to add a little bit more depth to them besides pirate shoot ship bad. So something with the Sequor we're kind of looking at also putting up in the north, and then maybe in the east, but we'll see. I'm trying to expect my totally cool alpha fanfic final boss in the sky ship to be added to Endless Sky. No. Funny you mention that though, because the carrier did get a modified carrier sprite that will be replacing the gift bringer. So if you like the gift bringer as a trophy ship, it's going to look slightly different. Not crazy different, but it's going to look like a mod. It's like the mod Argosy is to the Argosy. So. Also, the gift bringer did not change based on the carrier update, because if it did, that would be crazy bad. Because if that thing had more core thrones, it would be hard to fight. Make an authorship you just need to fix a spelling mistake. If only it was that easy. Although that said, Araki, when are you gonna personship when? What changes?
When he finishes the coalition stuff.
True. All right. Yeah. Araki, you know what, Araki? Oh no, I was gonna say maybe I should give you the Quarg mega ship as a person ship, but no, I changed my mind. What changed in the carrier update? Carrier lost 4 guns and gained twice as many fighters. Technically, it also lost weapon space with the guns too. So it's less of a cruiser 2.0. It also lost a turret, yes. We basically moved away from being a cruiser with just fighters and turned into more of a little carrier. It has less weapons than a cruiser now, but way more fighters. The Airy also got more base. Yes, love the Airy gang. Airy is my favorite human ship. 100%. Close seconds, the Osprey. Sorry if this isn't asked before, I don't get in many of these chats, but are the plans be willing to share for the east side of the map, south of the Geno space where the weird structures are? Well, if I told you all that, then it won't be that cool of a surprise then when I did it, would it? I did come out with there was if you didn't see it, there's a discussion on the GitHub with some of the relay stuff where I answer some questions and kind of clear things up and make you guys wonder more about it. What are the plans for it though? So the relay stuff is kind of bygone. It's long gone now. But I do want to add eventually some missions to the game that kind of explains the lore a little bit discreetly. So eventually look out for that. Yep. Thanks for the info. No problem. What'd you pick in content creating? Why'd you pick the alien map? No, they were asking about the relay structures. That said, someone brought up the basketball earlier. There is going to be some tie-in with the relay with basketball content, depending on if that makes it vanilla or not. I don't want to sit here and say, Road, you're absolutely guaranteed a green light there, but we've been working together a little bit. It'd be cool to see it going. First you have to suffer through all the grammar PRs. New species in that area, yeah. That's kind of the thing though too, is I don't want to get too in depth with really stuff quite yet. I want to see how the map kind of forms from that side of the galaxy, so we'll see. Most of the stuff is going to be in what already exists on the map, but yeah, for the relay at least. Yeah. Iraqi turned into a microwave. Typed in the chat. Magnus says, this is the first time I've attended a campfire session, but I've been playing the game for maybe 9 months or so. I've played through it twice and I've played through most of the missions as far as I know. There doesn't seem any more missions anymore. I don't want to read the spoiler channels. What is the best way for me to find more missions? How far have you got? That's kind of a hard question to answer if you're not looking for spoilers.
I suppose the generic answer is to explore and travel all around the place. You know, look out for clues or other missions. But
you finished the Free Worlds campaign. Have you left, or this is hard without spoilers? Remnant Coalition. Okay, so you've left human space. You at least have a jump drive and are flying around. Okay.
There's a lot more than those two.
Yeah, if you haven't seen more than those two. If you did the Coalition Revolt stuff for like the Heliarch and the Lunarium, then you're about as far as you are in that content is in the game. Have you done stuff with the Wanderers yet? You've been to the east, there's too many missions. The Wanderers have moved. Okay, so you did the Wanderer stuff. The only missions in the east right now are kind of like a little intro setup with the Gegno until you get a station unlocked. You have to land on an uninhabited planet to kind of start all that stuff. It's not a whole lot. From what it sounds like is you have completed most of the game, so a lot of the beyond human space stuff is unfinished because we're actively working on that. So
have you also done the Incapias and the Successors?
Yeah, there's intros for them too. The Incapias and Successors, the two other new species, they also have some intro content. No? You'll find one of them if you go north of Automata Space, and you'll find another if you go down in the graveyard further. That's about it. I won't say anything else than that. Some little intro things. But yeah, that's kind of how the game's been. Is it takes quite a lot to get stories going, so it seems you've played most of the game. Thank you for playing most of the game. I hope you enjoyed it. But yeah, we're at that point where like you're on the live content now. So this is where like multiple playthroughs or seeing if you can break the game starts to be your forte. You love the game? Cool. You're the one who worked in the Lua plugin because I wanted to hook up LMM to generate content? Interesting.
Yeah. We had a lot of discussions about that at one time.
Yeah.
I really wish there was an easy way of doing it. But then we could have just done it with Lua and
Yeah.
yeah.
Alright, things are kind of slowing down now, so I'd give it about 10 more minutes and say we'd probably hop out here. I was working the ABGI PR today. One of the biggest hurdles for it is the systems and planets because Azure made them in a separate file. So I spent the morning sitting down and manually putting all the systems in the system file in alphabetical order. It was that fun. I wanted to use Derpy's script to do it because he has a script that organizes the planets and stuff, but it's so out of date that it doesn't take into account like Ram Scoop or Shrouded or like new hazards or any sort of that. So if I used it on the main system file, it just looked like a mess. So I had to manually do it. Kind of. I ran the script on his systems only, and then I put them in the map file. Yeah, Aggie stuff is waiting on sprites, right? It's waiting on the current art review, and I want to play through it again to make sure that the systems aren't like fudged or anything. So I want to fly through all of them. So what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to stream next weekend on Saturday, and or maybe even Friday. Who knows? And check out the systems there. And after the artwork and that's done, I'd probably merge it. I might fart around with the missions a little bit more, but technically, I mean, if you guys, anyone here in this channel or watching, if you guys want to go playtest the PR2, and if you have any thoughts about it too, or just to kind of see what it's about. But yeah, it's mostly waiting on artwork and me finishing the planet file right now. I've enjoyed the listen. This is a very awesome experience. It's probably my favorite hidden gem kind of game. Thanks, Endless Devs. Thank you for supporting us and watching and playing the game. Appreciate it. Ghost in the Shell is a great movie. That's their name. Good day. Have a good day. Iraqi dropped a essay about why Coalition stuff is not coming out yet. All I get from that is I don't want to do it. Correct. I see. Why'd you type no idea when I'll have the next set of closure stuff ready twice? It's that important. Yeah.
Well, that is what we asked him.
I know, but he said it twice. Copy pasta.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Derpy wasn't able to make this stream. He's been rather busy. He's kind of been a little bit away from the game the last couple months, but he has let us know that he'll be returning soon. Hopefully he'll be here next Campfire chat. If you don't know who he is, he's basically the lead dev of the game. He's been around here quite a long time. Does a majority of the GitHub stuff. So hopefully we'll be seeing him around again. Second coming, of course, yeah. I have hidden a small icon of Derpy in the stream graphic. If you find it, I will like your comment. I don't know. Yeah. The second horse considering Sora, yeah. This game is such an incredible little diamond in the rough. It's unreal. Playing it feels like a hot chocolate on a winter night. That is a very interesting way of putting it. Because it is winter. And I have a cup of hot chocolate right in front of me, although it's cold now. But it is kind of that kind of cozy game, especially because it's focused on like story and just kind of like telling little tales and stuff. Or you can fight it, stuff like that. If you find the Derpy image, you'll get a season pass. Yeah, I will unlock a Kestrel 2.0 for your save only. Iraqi's been replaying Knave lately. How dare you? I'm kidding. I still want to play Knave someday. Banned says Roadrunner. Yeah. Story makes it so grinding mechanics are important. What it means that many games just evolve into grinding and farming. Well, that's the thing with Endless Sky is technically you can do both, and technically there are people who enjoy both. There are people who love the story, and so long as you play through the story, technically it kind of carries you through it. Minus some points where you might, like, you know, buy a ship or two, or do some trading, or do some side missions, stuff like that. And then there are people who don't care about the story whatsoever, and are just here to shoot stuff, capture the next biggest thing, and dominate the galaxy. And you know what? You can do both. So there are some people who like trading just as well. I know there's actually a decent amount of players who all they do is just trade between systems and make a trade fleet, and that means some people love doing that too in these like space games. So while the main campaign is the main part of the game and telling the story is, you can do all these other little side things as well. June, Knave is it's not another Escape Velocity. It's similar to the game. Yeah, Ro just said it. Both games are inspired by Escape Velocity, which is a game from the 90s. One of the earlier space games when computers really started popping off. And I played the second version of that game on a floppy disk, and that's what brought me here. That probably added 10 years to my voice. Yeah. Alright, we're on the 30-minute mark, so I'd say any last second questions, like flash round, let's go. lightning round, and then I'll probably head out here. And if you ask a question that was already asked, I'm banning you. No, I'm kidding. Love you guys. Keep up the good work. Can't wait to see what you come up with next. That's not a question. Thank you very much. Yeah, there's plenty of EV spiritual successors out there. There's at least 4 to my knowledge. There's us, Knave, and I think there's 2 other ones that are kind of smaller, but they're on GitHub. And there could be many more than that. I don't even know. You have CFO coming out eventually too for all the Override fans, which is me. One was called Soul something. Destination Soul? Yeah, maybe. Warp, do you have any last second thoughts to add? Don't say no. We had a really quick rundown on what has appeared since the Remnant expansion be possible. That depends. So when I started Plague in the Sky is about the time when the Remnant were added, and that's before they had sounds for their weapons. So they had human sound effects. They had like particle sound weapon effects for their ships still. This might have been continuous too. I don't know if it was in the release version. If you're talking about that far back, that's quite a lot to quick rundown. The second expansion. So like the cognizant stuff around 0.10, 0.10. That's not that far back. Couple new species, obviously more UI changes, code changes. Might be in fact a couple new mechanics since then. Yeah, major balance changes is a big one. Always new side missions. Great Portrait of Horror was added. Yep. Removed Herobrine? Oh, who did that? God, I'm so tempted to make like a jump scare in Relay Space. I really want to, but I don't even know how I would do it. And I kind of don't want to, because technically our audience is like huge, and I don't want to like scare people who are just there trying to chill and play the game. I like making it eerie. Like a lot of people have said Relay Space is eerie, and I love it when people say that, but record yourself screaming. I found Hairpin Relay Space. That's not good. Record yourself screaming some random vegetable and have a 1% chance of whenever entering. So you hear the jump in sound, and then you hear carrots. Yeah, Sibule, if I said that right. There's plenty of new stuff. A lot of it's not really finished, because a lot of new stuff, like new faction stuff, is always just the intro content. But I mean, that being said, you can expect more throughout future updates. So. Before my hard drive broke, I was trying to make a conversation with an image. I don't know what I did, and I kept jump scaring myself. Unlucky.
Images aren't that scary.
Going to look at Ildiko today? Cool. I was seeing that. Isn't that like basically just looking for like a grammar review, or is it kind of looking for a content review? Because it's still early in the month. If that's kind of all said and done before a week out, that could also be looked at for this update. Don't look at it, just merge it. You must be learning from Azure. Merge everything. Don't look, just merge. Space. The mission set is about looking for a grammar review. I'm just imagining someone making a mission set that's like metagaming and making a mission series where someone is reviewing a story to be given more routes to it or something. Like literally just GitHub on a computer inside Endless Sky and reviewing it there. Random thought, I once saw a Firefly class ship flying around that was pretty cool. There are a couple of kind of like quote reference ships in the sky. One of them is that ship. It's a person ship that shows up once every now and then. It's based on the Firefly. There are a couple of other ships. For example, the I believe the Lightning Bug in High Space is a reference to the Millennium Falcon that MZ made. There are, well, the Space Cow, the subsidiary is basically just a big, huge reference to Space Cows. There's a couple of ships that are references to EV ships. For example, the Varetti Het, if I said that right, in the Kahet space, that's a reference to EV Nova's Manicore. Wanderer ships look a lot like Override ships, I think. The Kestrel's an EV reference? No way. I didn't know that. Yeah. Yeah, the Kestrel is straight up an EV reference. That's about the only reference we can do, though. The Quicksilver? You think the Quicksilver looks like the Millennium Falcon? No, it don't. Where's the circle in that thing? If you have bad eyes. If I back up about 4 feet, I do. It's got the prongs. Oh, okay, I guess everything with prongs is Millennium Falcon then. But yeah, there are some references like that in the game. Generally try to avoid like straight up referencing them though, because obviously copyright infringement and stuff like that. I know there's plenty of plugins that straight up add ships from other games. That's a little bit different, but do those at your own risk, I guess. I, for example, have been working on a Star Wars plugin. Haven't touched that in some time though, but I don't know, there's some people, there's another Star Wars plugin that's out there right now. Some people want a Halo plugins, you know, stuff like that. That'd be cool someday. Stargate, yeah. Someday. That's the thing though, is you can just add whatever you want in plugins. And I remember seeing a post on Steam earlier about total conversions. Technically, we can't do that because we don't really have a good way to replace the main game stuff. But technically, you don't need to because you can just make your own freaking galaxy off in the corner and just do whatever you want. Petition to rename the modified Argosy. Why do you want to rename it? You didn't rename it. It's boring. That's not really a good reason to rename it. Yeah, it's literally a modifier. You see. You've seen some sprites for Stargate in the sky. Well, that's another thing is the plugins that are released aren't all the plugins. There are plenty of people who make like their own plugins or just kind of throw something into the game just for the fun of it. So I'm sure there's already all this sort of stuff like other franchises and whatnot out there that are just people using it on their local system and not like putting them in the repo. So. Horror. Yeah. Alright, well you got me talking 10 minutes past 30 minutes, so what, we're gonna go to the top of the hour now? Or because I said that everyone's gonna leave now? No, it's over now? Alright, bye. Yeah, probably wrap it up now, so... Thanks everyone for watching, for sticking around. Thanks everyone who is watching the VOD or after the fact. Hope everyone had a good holiday. Happy New Year. We'll see you guys again next month around the same time, first Saturday of the month. Until then, if you have any questions to ask us, submit them into the sheet in the pinned messages or in the message here. I'll also leave a message after closing the channel. And you can find the VOD on YouTube shortly later in the day, I think. Yes, the next update is in 3 weeks. Everyone be excited.
Oh no.
Oh no. Excited means...
You have to get so much stuff in.
Yeah, excited means be happy the update's coming. It does not mean, oh, I have 3 weeks to get my cool thing in the update, because a week out, we're not doing that anymore. So, yeah. Roadrunner linked my VODs. They don't say they're forever, but eventually it'll be on YouTube, so yeah. Thanks for coming. See y'all next time.
Bye.
Bye.